By the late 80s, the Detroit Grand Prix had become the sole American round of the Formula 1 season, after Dallas, Long Beach, Las Vegas and Watkins Glen had dropped off the calendar in the first half of the decade. Despite its longevity in F1, the Detroit Grand Prix was never popular among teams and drivers. The track surface was bumpy and would often break up in the summer heat during the races. This, along with narrow concrete walls, usually led to a race of attrition with few finishers. The circuit was also under pressure from locals, with traffic congestion being an issue in the weeks leading up to the race, as construction of the temporary pit facilities began. On top of this, real estate developers wanted to develop the land used for the temporary facilities, which would make future races impossible. After the 1988 Detroit Grand Prix, Formula 1 declared that the pit facilities were no longer up to standard and new permanent facilities would need to be built instead. The city of Detroit refused to pay for the new facilities, leading to F1 dropping the Detroit Grand Prix from the calendar, with IndyCar taking the race for the 1989 season. Formula 1 now needed to look for a new location for the United States Grand Prix for 1989, and multiple candidates came forward. The Detroit Grand Prix organisers wanted to relocate the race to Belle Park for the 1989 season. Permanent pit facilities could be built, and the circuit would be out of the way, leading to less traffic for the locals. While Bernie Ecclestone seemed to like the idea in interviews, F1 decided not to take this offer, although the Belle circuit would still become a reality in the 90s when IndyCar added it to their schedule in 1992. The most interesting candidate, though, was Laguna Seca, arguably the best circuit that has never held a Formula 1 Grand Prix. F1 Supremo Bernie Ecclestone had wanted to return to the West Coast ever since the Long Beach Grand Prix left F1 to join IndyCar in the 80s, and Laguna Seca had seen itself as an alternative to the iconic street circuit. The circuit owners began upgrading their track to bring it up to international standards, with the most notable change being the new infield section, which improved the safety of the circuit, as well as increasing the length of the circuit to over 2.2 miles, which was minimum length for new F1 tracks at the time. In 1988, they successfully attracted the MotoGP series to the US for the first time since their 1965 race at Daytona Speedway. While the racing itself was entertaining, there were many complaints from riders about the bumpiness of the circuit, as well as general criticism of the facilities, with teams having to operate out of tents and hay bales being used as makeshift safety barriers. There were also major safety issues with poor marshalling and underprepared medical staff, which had caused major problems for the following year. Despite all this though, the Californian circuit pushed ahead with its Formula 1 race plans for 1989. Other problems would emerge though. It was reported that if Laguna Seca were to hold the United States Grand Prix, then they would be forced to drop their IndyCar race for two reasons. The first is that the governing bodies of both series did not get along at this point and F1 refused to share circuits with IndyCar, something that continued into the 2000s. Secondly, Laguna Seca wanted their F1 race to be held in October before the Japanese Grand Prix, which would have been around the same time as the IndyCar race in 1989. This probably didn't go down with F1 either, who preferred a June date similar to what the Detroit Grand Prix had had, so that the three North American races would be together on the calendar for logistical reasons. However, a June date would have led to racing in dangerously hot conditions, a mistake Formula 1 had made previously with Dallas and Detroit. In the end, Bernie Ecclestone decided not to bring Formula 1 to Laguna Seca, instead opting for a street circuit in Phoenix, Arizona. The main reason for this was that F1 believed that Laguna Seca was far too remote with its location in Monterey, far away from any major cities, which Bernie Ecclestone feared would lead to poor attendance figures. Ecclestone believed that for F1 to be successful in the USA, you needed to bring F1 to the people for them to attend. Not that this would help Phoenix, but anyway. After this failed bid, Laguna Seca has made no serious attempt to attract Formula 1 again, and given the immense cost of holding an F1 race these days, it's very unlikely that we will ever see the United States Grand Prix take place at Laguna Seca. But if F1 had gone to Laguna Seca, would it have worked out? Honestly, I don't think so. While it would have been amazing to see the legendary drivers of this era racing here, the problems off track would have been too great. We've already talked about the safety issues, but there would be other problems too. The remoteness of the circuit, combined with F1's poor promotion in the US during this time, would probably lead to poor attendance figures. It could even be worse than the Phoenix Grand Prix, which was at least in a major city. The biggest problem though was money. Laguna Seca abandoned their MotoGP race after 1994 due to financial problems, and an F1 race would have costed a lot more money. In the best case scenario, I think an F1 race at Laguna Seca would have lasted as long as the MotoGP race, but would be gone from F1 by the mid-90s. But it could have given us some iconic moments along the way, especially if they got their wish of an October race date. How would an F1 race at Laguna Seca have affected the championship battles in the following few seasons? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching and see you next time.